Welcome back to Whitt. Today we're going to take a walk around the gardens. I usually do my garden tour on Thursdays, and today is Friday. I got all mixed up this week, didn't know what day it was until Thursday. I like to mow on Wednesdays, so by the time I figured out the day was Thursday, I had to mow that day instead of do a garden tour. So I mowed, I'm all caught up here, and we're ready to do a garden tour on a Friday. It's about 77 degrees today and beautifully sunny. We have a little bit of wind, so hopefully that's not too bad with the audio, but it is a gorgeous day today. So we're going to see a lot of nice blooms. We did just have a thunder and lightning storm last night with a little bit of wind, so some of the taller blooms, mostly the gladiolas, did catch a little bit of weight and get knocked over. So we're going to have a little bit of that going around. But I'm thinking once I get done with this tour, I'm going to go around and collect up all the fallen soldiers and make a big arrangement out of all the fallen flowers so they don't waste down on the ground. I don't like things going to waste. This year out at the pergola garden, we didn't get the gourds to grow up over the pergola, but we have a lot of other stuff going on. The honeysuckle actually finally made it to the top of the pergola, so I'm really happy to see that. It's been blooming and giving off a nice fragrance. The silver lace vine right beside it has filled out that archway just beautifully, draping down the whole thing. I actually came in here and pruned it up a little bit so we were able to walk through without hitting it off your head, just making this pathway look gorgeous. We have this pink lily that's blooming now. We didn't get any blooms from the one I decapitated. But we kind of expected that. Hey bud. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What'd you find, puppy? Is there a chipmunk in this thing? Oh, he just crushed my hosta. Puppy, making a problem here, bud. Oh, you just crushed it, puppy. Get out of my hosta. Come on, bud. I guess we'll add another couple fallen flowers to the count. As beautiful as this area is, I can't spend too much time up here because my neighbor's dogs are just yelling the whole time. But we have the fragrant pink lily. I believe this is the stargazer, finally blooming beautifully right here. We have the yellow echinacea that Echo keeps knocking over, but look how tall it is. That is 7 feet tall up there. Pergola is 8 feet, so this is a 7-foot tall echinacea with the purple hostas, the pink, and the white from the silver lace. It's really just looking really nice over here. On the back side of the pergola, we have some volunteer sunflowers coming up, and the hosta row coming along the hanger here is in full bloom. Once we get this mulched, it'll look a lot nicer, but it's still looking pretty good with the blooms going across. We have 10 of the hostas I transplanted up here, and they're only gonna keep getting better with the years going on and them getting a lot fuller. Starting to get some growth from the castor bean here, but I don't think it's gonna get to full size. I got it in really late. This is one of my best Thuja green giants that I planted. I planted this from a 10-pack that I got all about 1 foot tall plants from. These 3 back here were all from that 10-pack, and this one is doing great. It's over 7 feet tall now. We have some lilies coming here with the cow lily row going by, and the red trumpet vine has been blooming this whole time, probably a couple weeks now. More blooms than it's ever put on before, and the hummingbirds have been loving it. Coming off the corner here, we have another massive pink lily. This one's way bigger than the other one, getting so much more sunlight than the one in the other corner that I decapitated. But the fragrance coming off of this is just beautiful. We have some real tall white gladiolas that I probably should stake. We have a pink one over here too. Whoop. These pink ones are really nice. They have kind of a yellowish white in the center there. All these gladiolas are perennial, so they keep coming back each year. Same with the cow lilies and that pink Asiatic lily. I believe it's a stargazer. I'm not real sure on that, but it's just making this pathway better every year. Zebra grass is getting nice and full. I did some pruning on this zebra grass, trying to make it a little bit more of space on the inside here. So I just pruned straight up the back of it. Gives it a little bit more space on the inside. We don't really use this area at all yet. I just want to keep pruning things to make it the way I want them whenever I do start using it. So I've been pretty happy with the way the pergola has turned out this year, even though I wasn't able to get my gourds to grow. So coming down the driveway here, the daylilies have finished up, but the hostas are coming up beautifully and full right behind them, giving some pollination for the bees. So I did prune back all the daylilies. Well, most of them, they still had a few buds here, so I left those on. But the hostas are really full this year, and they're going to keep getting bigger and bigger as well. So I really like having these perennials in here, trying to make everything get bigger each year. The perennials are a big part of my garden, trying to get more blooms each year with less work. There's not a lot to show here out at the poplar bed. I did get it mulched, and I have the Shasta daisy row coming around this outside, but I do want to keep getting it on the garden tours just so I can show the progression over the years. I have not spent much time at all out here in the food forest. We just come in here and pick some of the ripe berries that are ready. The birds have been getting most of them, but anytime I walk through, I just try and find some ripe berries and I get a little treat out of it. My little peach tree here doesn't have anything on it, and I didn't get anything out of my big nectarine tree either. The food forest is a long game. I got to put young plants in and then watch them get older before I can actually start harvesting all the fruit, so I can't really rush this garden. On the back side of the island here, behind the ash tree, which is going into its budding, it's putting on its orange little berries there, and at the base of that we have a big poplar tree that's been volunteering here for a few years, and it's getting too big now. It's got to get cut back, as well as the forsythia has been overgrowing this area, so it needs to be pruned back too. We have the bamboo marigold coming up. I believe this is the Tithonia, and this can be a weed in some warmer climates, but for me in zone 6A here, it's not too bad. It does get bigger, but it doesn't spread too much. I love having hostas just blooming everywhere. It just gives that little pop of color to shady areas that you can't get other things to bloom into. As well as the heuchera, giving some foliage color, and the blooms will add some color in the shade too. The brooder yard here, you can see it's taking some damage. I put over 50 birds through the yard here, brooding them out in different mini coops and chicken tractors. We still have 15 of the turkey in there, so they're going to be moving out today after this garden tour as well. But you can see the damage we've done to the yard, so this needs a good break and a lot of rain so it can actually green back up again. The island garden's just been blooming and blooming. I haven't done much in here, and I really don't need to. I would like to get a nice layer of compost and mulch in here, but other things have come up and I really haven't been able to get that job done. But we have some calla lilies blooming in here, framing out the pathway back to the bench, and they've been looking beautiful. The hostas back in there have been adding some color to the shade, just getting your eyes deeper into the shade line, which is nice. This little pot here of burning bush has grown like this. I didn't do any pruning or anything. It just grew up like this from volunteer seed, and it's beautiful. I don't know what else to say. It's a gorgeous, just fluffy, soft ball of green, and it's going to turn all bright red in the fall. I couldn't be happier with that. If I didn't allow volunteers to grow, my gardens won't look half as good. We have another bunch of hostas just filling up the island garden going down here, but we also have some other color popping up through too. We have some gladiolas blooming and falling. We have calla lilies and daylilies, hostas, crocosmia, erigeum, daisies, and they're all filling up here in the island to give beautiful color and still outcompete the weeds. I wanted the island garden out here to be maintenance free. I don't want to have to plant a lot of things each year. I just want to come in, mulch everything, and try and keep it weeded. As you can see, I've been letting the weeds come up, and I didn't get it mulched, so I really didn't even do my part here. But it's doing its part, putting on a beautiful show, and it's continuing with the different colors of blooms all throughout the season. We also have a little one down here at the base of the tree. I believe this is called an ice plant, and it's just gorgeous little colors, and it's been blooming the whole season. We have a small little red one over here that always tries to outcompete the weeds, and I have to help it out a little bit, but it has a nice little bloom on it there too. I like having things in the garden that you actually have to walk up, get close and personal for you to discover it. And the geyser looks gorgeous. We're gonna make it down to the pond and out front as well, but I'm gonna head down to the vegetable garden right now because there's just so many blooms going on. What are you doing, puppy? What is this? Get back. I'll open the gate, buddy. Thank you. There you go. Still got the volunteer sunflower. It did take a bit of a lean from yesterday's storm, but it's still holding up and it's going to be blooming here. I just have to walk around it. Looks like we have some storms blowing over. I don't know if we're going to get any rain later today, but hopefully we can get this garden tour in. My entryway to the garden has just been beautiful. I thought last week I was going to have the most blooms I was going to have, and then the other ones just stayed on and more just kept coming. So it has been just plentiful with all the different colors we have. Of course, the hostas and the lilies are blooming down here just like everywhere else, and we have a beautiful Shasta daisy putting a big spot of white. So whenever we're looking from a distance, you see that big white through all this almost purple, and it's a really nice color scheme. And it doesn't hurt to have all those volunteer sunflowers running down the cut flower row. But down here in the vegetable garden, the gladiolas have just started to bloom, so I'm not sure if it's the area that they're in or the color that they are. So these ones are the yellow, white, and pink, and more so my red and yellow ones were blooming up by the house. I've said it before, but it's nice to have perennials all across the property getting different sun and water treatments, because then it starts their blooms a little bit earlier and some start later, so you get an extended bloom cycle for that color. So we have gladiolas, butterfly bush, and lilies blooming in here, but we also have some crocosmia right here. It looks like will be starting to bloom here soon. We have other ones blooming just fully, but these ones haven't even opened yet. And then we have my tiger lilies that something ate the top of this one, and we have some blooms on these, but they're not as full. I actually just saw in my history of my photos that last year at this time this plant was blooming really nice right now, but as you can see right now it's just barely budding and it's not ready to open. So every year is different and we get different weather, and this year has been definitely one that started out slower. Before we get into the vegetable part of the vegetable garden down here, I want to let you know I did not keep up with all the weeding. So my pumpkin patch here is going to the weeds. I'm gonna have to get down here and weed whack everything before it starts reaching out into this grass. I don't want it grabbing onto the grass and then it's going to be growing up through the pumpkin plant. So I'm going to have to come down here and weed all this down. But this pumpkin plant is growing. I lost my main tip, which really put a struggle on me, but all this other side growth is really starting to come in and add to the size of the plant. I do have some pumpkin. There's a pumpkin right there growing. And I have a couple others starting, but I'm keeping an eye on it, trying to figure out which one's going to be the best one to try and get big. I really need to get a pumpkin set here soon so it has at least 30-40 days of growing before we get any decent cold nights. Once the nighttime temperatures drop close to 50, the plant's going to slow down tremendously. So I'm going to try and get as much growth on the pumpkin as I can before that happens. I really should do something with this fennel and not let it go to seed, but the pollinators have just been loving this fennel forest that I have here in my raised bed. Most of this isn't even in the raised bed, it's just growing on the outside of it, but it's been a massive attraction for a bunch of different pollinators, so I hate to just cut it down while it's in full bloom. So I'll probably hold off, let it bloom out, and try and get it before it seeds. It's sad to say, but this year I grew the biggest cauliflower I have ever grown before. Look at this thing. It is massive. Gorgeous cauliflower, but it's bug riddled. So I'm not going to be able to eat this thing. I didn't net my cauliflower or any of my brassicas because I really just planted this to see if it would grow. Look at all this gorgeous cauliflower. These are my normal size heads, and then look at that head. Huge comparison. Like I said, my season kind of started late, so I didn't get everything out on time, and the brassicas you really want to start in the spring so they don't get all this hot weather. They're going to get more bitter in the hot weather and they have a bigger tendency to bolt. But I already had them started from seed and they're food, so I wanted to see if I could just grow them. If they grow and get bug riddled, I can always throw them to the pigs and the animals and they'll love it. So I just wanted to get them in, let them grow, and now that they produce some food, I can give it to the animals. And we did end up with a little cabbage too. This is not too bad. That's a decent sized cabbage. I did pick my first tomato this morning. We got that heavy rain last night, about an inch of rain, and I had these two that were red. The other one was twice this size. So I picked that one this morning just in case all the rain that we got split it. I didn't want my first tomato to split. I was waiting for these for a while. It always seems like those first tomatoes stay green forever. But I should be getting into some steady tomatoes here soon. That wall of volunteer sunflowers on the cut flower garden has just been gorgeous. Those sunflowers have been putting off constantly over and over for weeks now. I thought they were just going to bloom and then finish up and I wouldn't have any for the fall. But these just keep blooming and blooming. They're all multi-headed sunflowers, so it's been really nice to have these. So I'm gonna need to try and bag some of these so I can save sunflower seeds for next year. I can't count on this happening every year, but I've been really happy with what I got because I didn't plant one sunflower at all this year. I did dig up some and transplant them, move some of the volunteers around, but I did not germinate one sunflower seed this year, and I have more sunflowers than I've ever had before. Gardening is a fun hobby that way. You put the work in and it'll give it right back. My peppers are producing. So we have a few banana peppers growing on here, and some of them probably are getting close to being ready. Yeah, they're getting there, a little bit longer. We have some flowers on this. It's actually starting to vine out here. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm glad to see any kind of growth. We have more peppers going on back here. I didn't see any bell peppers, just some tiny ones, maybe a little one. Yep, getting bigger there. Small bell peppers just starting on these plants. But my zucchini, I have a small little zucchini plant with a bunch of bug eggs on it. Want to get rid of those squash bug eggs. You want to squash them. There's some more over here. Just roll them up in your finger. The little damage you do to the leaf is a lot less than what those would do if they hatched. And then under this leaf, you can see a massive zucchini on this plant. I've seen bigger zucchini, but the proportion of zucchini to plant size here is pretty funny. I'm gonna have to harvest this today. And this plant's not doing too well at all, but it has a little baby zucchini on it too. The potatoes are nice and full and they don't look like they've been hit by the bugs too bad. They are starting to bloom right here, so you know that they're forming some tubers down below. And I can probably start reaching in there and pulling out some baby tomatoes from underneath. How you doing, Pop? You enjoying the gardens? Yeah, it's a nice little playground for you, isn't it, buddy? Any rabbits in there? You keep the rabbits out of my garden, bud. Good job. All right, we're gonna make a quick loop through the side garden and the front garden. I think my neighbors are out, so we're just gonna make it quick. I had to bring the weed whacker in and do a rough chop here on the side garden, try and knock down some of these weeds just to highlight the flowers. I did edge the gardens out here in the front. We have a lot of nice color from the hostas. We have purple and white going here, big Shasta daisy there in the back, and the crocosmia row. This thing has been so massive, it actually flopped over in the storm last night, but it's still putting on its blooms, and all these will turn up and they'll keep going. They'll still be able to feed the hummingbirds and still add some color down here, even though they're not all upright. In the fall, I really should come through here and dig all these up and thin it out. It's getting really thick with the crocosmia reaching back and knocking over the gladiola row. The gladiolas aren't too thick. They could probably go a few more years, but the crocosmia did too well and it's growing too much for its space. So a lot of people have weeds in their garden like this and they have to come in here, weed kill, or just pull them out by hand, weed whack them back. But I actually have a yard coming back in my garden. So some people have weeds in their garden, but I have a full yard coming back up in my garden. I didn't get enough mulch down. I do kill the weeds usually when I make a new garden. I weed whack them all down, but I don't put fabric or plastic down because I change my gardens a lot and I don't want to have to work through fabric. And the fabric deteriorates and then you're pulling it up, the weeds still grow through it and it turns into a big mess. So we also have this as a big mess here as yard growing back up into the garden too. But I should be able to get a handle on this and get this back and mulched over and just keep it mulched and keep the weeds down eventually. Back here, I can't remember what it is, maybe a wild bottle brush, something like that. I remember seeing this last year and it's getting bigger this year, adding some nice tiny little white flowers. So I don't know what it is. I didn't plant it here, but it looks good and it's blooming for the pollinators. Still have some butterfly weed going on strong and the hydrangeas are starting to come in. Coming around the corkscrew willow here to the front of the side garden, we have the bobo hydrangea in the center. We have some phlox still blooming over here. I'm not getting any buds from the dahlia, so we're gonna have to give those more time. It'll be more of a fall bloom, which won't be too bad to get that different color whenever everything else starts to fade out. We have these sunflowers we're still waiting on as well, but they're putting on some thick heads. One sunflower is doing really good right there off the corner of the house. That just looks nice right there. It was a volunteer and it's volunteering just beautifully. I'm telling you, you really have to work with the volunteers whenever they come. Coming down the line here, we have 4 limelight hydrangeas that are just starting to come into their bloom here. We have a lot coming around the base and then on the morning side of the plants, but I really need to see them on the setting side of the plant. So we're seeing some come up there, which will be great to cut for arrangements because we can't see them anyway. But it would be nice to see these once they fill out and start adding this big white line. The rudbeckia is popping up in this corner with the blue jean baby Russian sage. On the corner here, the blue jean baby Russian sage and the rudbeckia are blooming. And I'm really happy to say my oak leaf hydrangea is still alive, doing really well, putting on some nice size and growth from last week. And if you follow me on Instagram, I did just prune up the Royal Empress tree again because it was sagging a little bit low with some too much growth and it wasn't letting me see all the blooms from the hostas, which I think they're looking really good this year. Out here along the road, we have some daylilies blooming as well as the Rose of Sharon's are coming in. All these sunflowers out here I did transplant from the cut flower garden. I didn't plant them from seed, but I did plant them transplant them out here so I had them where I wanted them. And this one by the farm stand is just gorgeous. And we are getting some more size from these castor beans out here. I did plant these a little bit earlier than the other ones. Oh geez, look at this grass. That is doing way too healthy. Way too healthy. And there's one growing right out of that castor bean. That one's doing really good. We're getting some nice massive leaves out of it. This is what could happen if you plant them at the right time. they get really massive leaves and they'll get over 6 feet tall as a big plant. They do have blooms that they kind of hide. What is that? Left the tray out here. The castor bean does bloom, but the big leaves kind of hide them, and they do make seed pods too for some multiple interest. I got the burning bush in the hemlock ring here all cleaned up, and it's looking nice and lush. It works really well with the burning bush that volunteered here on the corner. All this burning bush is all volunteers. I don't plant any of it, but it keeps coming back every year. We have some zinnias here that are just starting to bloom that I did plant from seed, and more gladiolas that are coming up. These gladiolas are coming up later than a lot of the other ones, and that honeybee doesn't mind. And this would have been a really nice gladiola if the storm didn't come and knock them all down. I don't have time to stake everything, and I don't have enough stakes, so these ones are going to get cut for an arrangement. Off the corner here, some more volunteers. This is the coxcomb that I'm letting bloom here. Hopefully I'm going to harvest that and get some seed for next year. This gladiola, believe it or not, is also a volunteer. I've left there a couple years ago, and it's getting big enough to bloom again this year. This allium that this little bee is enjoying right now is also a volunteer. It's a little pup off of this one that just reseeded. There's another one right there, right beside it some more, and a bunch are popping off here. I plan on picking these up and repotting them, giving them to friends or selling them, which always sounds like a good idea, and then I don't do it, and then I just watch it bloom next year. And it's the Rose of Sharon's time, so they're going to be coming into bloom here all around the property. We have a lot of those. They line our whole roadway, and the hostas around the front of the house here are just gorgeous still. I'm gonna have to do a lot of rearranging here in the front garden. I want to block off that whole view that you see now, because that view is not going to stay that way. So I got to do a lot of changes. I'm probably going to have to pull in this whole line and make this yard smaller so I can get a lot of plantings around the outside. Nah, it's not quite open yet, but it's been looking really good over here, and it's been popping off a good amount of color. Come on, pup. Behind the big maple tree, we kind of have a dark corner over here, but the hostas are still blooming. I put some variegated hostas back here to try and brighten this corner up. So we have the white tipped hostas. Even when they're not blooming, it's kind of a brighter color because they have the white edges. But they're blooming right now, giving off a nice purple. And the Solomon seal that it surrounds also has the white tip edges. It's not blooming right now, but it is harboring some life. And over here in the shade of the maple tree, we have some daylilies just starting to bloom, putting on all their buds right now. And we have all the ones that are in the setting sun finishing up. So it's a nice extension of color throughout the season, keeping them all around in different locations. Next to the greenhouse, we have the kaleidoscope butterfly bush. It doesn't look like it's doing too well, but it is blooming right now. I think it's in really crappy soil right there. It's super rocky and clayey right there, so I think it's not getting enough water or nutrients. So it's just struggling to bloom the whole time. It stays pretty limp. I don't plan on having the greenhouse there forever, so that'll get moved eventually and hopefully put into a better location. We have another fallen flower here. It's a gladiola coming out of the ramp bed. Believe it or not, this gladiola was also a volunteer. I left it go probably 4 years now, so it's actually putting on some good blooms. I might stake this one up so it can finish up over here. I like the red and the purple. The zinnias behind it are starting to bloom. We're gonna have some different colors out of those. And the brocade marigolds really filled in the front already. And now we'll finish up here at the pond garden. I did finally get the second pump in, so we're running the geyser and the filter and the waterfall. So everything's running right now. It's not a finished pond. There's still a lot of details I want to put into it, but we're running almost at full capacity. We also got some heavy rain last night, so the pond is sitting full. The geyser's going off and it's looking gorgeous. I finally got that installed, and that's going to go off every about 8.5 minutes depending on how much rain we get. So it's my little old faithful geyser in the pond that I really don't think anybody else has. We have some goldfish going around in there doing good, eating up the algae. We still have some algae in there, but the water quality is just gorgeous. The hostas and the butterfly bush have been blooming, bringing in the butterflies and the hummingbird moths. I've been really like seeing those. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen some of them already. I like posting short videos and reels of all the butterflies and the nature around the property. All the pollinators, the bees, the butterflies, and the hummingbird moths have been loving all the flowers out here, and the hummingbirds themselves have really liked the gladiola here. This has been really holding up nicely. I had 24 bamboo stakes in there holding up the 24 colas. But as you can see laying down around the side, there was more than 24 flowers to this plant. So I should have got more bamboo sticks, but I got as many as I could, and we're still getting a nice show out of it. I have a lot of work to do on cleaning up the pond. Now that we have the new pump, it's gonna help keep the water a lot nicer, but it's gonna take a little bit of work to get all this organic matter out of the pond before it can keep up with it. It's not gonna be able to catch up with all this algae and organic matter already in. So I need to get it nice and clean, and then the filter will be able to maintain the clean pond. We have the elephant ear up here doing great inside the creeping jenny. We have an elephant ear up here doing great inside that creeping jenny. It frames the side of the pond really nice, and what it really does is hide that waterfall right there, so you can't see it from the patio area. I don't like to see everything from one spot. So the elephant ear is doing really good right there. It has a couple of purposes, not just to look good, but it also needs to hide that waterfall, the stream that's coming down from the patio area. I don't like to see everything from one location. I like to have some things discoverable. So I want you to have to actually walk from the patio down here into the pond to see everything happening with the waterfall. It's a little strange. Normally at this time these petunias would be all filled up. I look at my pictures from last year and everything's a lot further along than it is this year. So it's a little strange to see them small right now, and I'm not sure how far along they're really going to get before our temperature starts changing again. Every year is different with gardening, which really makes it interesting and difficult. Patio stair pots are doing really good. I like them this year with the new paint job. They're filling up the rim nicely, but I'm just waiting for those petunias to spill over the edge. My row of brocade marigolds are filling in nicely. Not every marigold is made the same. So these brocade marigolds I'm actually starting to really like. They're staying compact and they're putting off a nice bloom. Some of the marigolds can get pretty big and they can get pretty crazy. They reach out and they fall over because they get so massive. And for the pond bank here, I want something a little bit smaller and contained. I was trying to figure out what to do with this area here because I didn't put many plantings in it, but I think Mother Nature figured it out for me. I got a volunteer gourd coming up right there and over there by the broken pot. And if you remember last year, those gourds grow fast and big, so those should stretch out and fill in that whole space this year. And with any luck, I'll get some harvestable gourds that I can use in some crafts and fall decoration. That's gonna be all for this one. I need to go move some turkey. Leave a comment down below on your favorite part of the gardens. I'd love to hear what it is. If you like the garden tours, make sure to hit that like button before you leave, and you can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching.